Good morning. Here's what we're going to do today. I'll tell you something you probably don't want to hear. 100%. I'll attack you, and then I'll go have a workout. This little guy that I carried here to the park. Man, that was a tough walk. And then I'll explain myself. I explain why why I attack you and why it makes some sense. Why it might make some sense. Alright, here we go. Every habit you know you should develop, but you don't, is not because you're lacking the motivation or the willpower, like you like to think that is the case, but is because you're arrogant and condescending. Let's go, let's have a workout. I'll remove my shirt because I'm living in the fucking desert, and then I'll go swing this 24 kilo boy 100 times, 10 sets of 10, and I'll do 10 get-ups. You'll see what it is with it too. This is a plan by a guy called Pavel Tsatsouline. It's called Simple and Sinister. Brutal, short, and nice. It's overall great. Increases everything just a little or a lot of bit. I might have to use both hands because I have no chalk and it slips, and I don't want my kettlebell in the bushes. Problem. Yeah, both hands it is. Swings done, onto the get-ups. Tree position. Let's try this, maybe. I'll stop here. I'll stop here. I have 2 more to go, but if I'm listening to my body, it definitely tells me to stop now. Okay, so 100 swings and 8 get-ups. No problem. I'll get dressed up and dried up, and then we'll talk. Alright, so back to our attack. You are arrogant and you are condescending. What you saw right now, what I did, that's purely because life forced me into becoming a little bit more humble. What do I mean by humble in regards to habits and doing the shit you need to do, but you don't actually get to? Well, there's this prevailing mindset right now that life is hard and you are lazy and you need to push yourself and hustle. You have this inner demon, you have this bitch inside of you that just wants to rest and wants to be at home on the sofa watching TV, watching Netflix 24/7, and that you have to fight and resist that urge to sit at home and do nothing. I can't stand this mindset. From what I've seen, from my own experience, that doesn't go to say anything about the human nature. I only understand myself and how I work. But from what I've seen, being forced to be at home for years, multiple years in a row, just like we had now with quarantine, with COVID. I've had that for years prior, and I noticed that when you get the opportunity, more than that, you get the excuse, you get the papers telling you, yo, sit at home, play video games, watch TV. You get out of it, you don't sink into it. Something pops up, you get interested, you get curious, you get fascinated by something, and you start doing things. Out of this boredom, we rise, we do something nice, we do something great out of being bored. Why do I hate this hustle mentality so much? This whole push yourself, if you have a goal, stop being lazy, just go out there and do what you have to do. I don't like it because I don't feel like it works. I feel like everybody knows how diets work. Everybody knows that everybody hops on a diet. They stick to it for a month or 2 or 3. They lose some weight, and at some point it stops, it freezes, and people go back to normal. Why? Because it's not sustainable, because it's too drastic, because it's too big. So what do? How do you change stuff? Well, you change behavior. You change your habits from the core. So what do I mean by arrogant? What do I mean by condescending? I think that most people, because we're chasing after end goals, after big, drastic, I want to get to a certain weight, I want to look a certain way, I want to have the one partner. We're chasing these ideals. We want to get there in a similar way. We want to use the ideal tool. We want to do it in the ideal kind of way. We want to do the process that is most efficient, most ideal for the one and be all great goal. I believe in this concept of fractals, of things reoccurring in patterns. If you're only willing to act in the way that you see as ideal, if you're only willing to exercise in the way that's most efficient, if you're only willing to eat what is healthy, 100% healthy, what we know is healthy, what is proven, you're doomed to believe in this ideal, healthy, perfect end scenario as well. If I speak to you, you'll probably tell me that you don't believe in the one partner. There's many you could be in, you make a decision, you make it work. Yet, for some reason, we behave in this, there's one workout we have to do, there's one diet we need to do, there's this, if you take a blood test, then someone's gonna know what are the foods that you need to eat. It doesn't work that way. And you have to be willing to take an imperfect, messy route, messy path, if you want to get to any end goal. What I see often, what I think is most common is this. Tell me if it sounds familiar, or don't tell me, but think if it sounds familiar. There's something you want to do, you want to exercise maybe, and so you sign up to a gym, and you go maybe with a friend, maybe you go on your own, and you set a plan built for you, and the trainer tells you what to do, and you feel confident, you're like, yeah, we're doing it. Finally, I'm here, this time, it's gonna work. And you buy your fancy clothing, and you buy sweat absorbers, and you buy gloves, and you buy whatever. And you go to the gym for a few weeks, maybe even a few months, but at some point something happens, you're busy, semester starts again, job is kind of busy, something happens in your love life, you don't show up for a few months. And after that, do you come back? Probably not. There's probably some more months in between where it kind of fades away and you get distant from it. You want to come back, but suddenly it's difficult. Suddenly you're weaker than you have been. Suddenly you gained back all the weight that you've lost and you lost motivation. And now what do you tell yourself? Now you tell yourself, I lack the motivation. I lack the willpower. No, it doesn't work that way. I don't think so. What I think we do is this. I think you take a path you think is ideal, you think is the one path, you think is the thing you need to do, and you start chasing that one path. At some point it stops because it's tough. All ideal paths are difficult inherently. To have the ideal path for a certain goal, you have to make sacrifices. That's how it works. You want to be the best at your job, there's different things you want to be able to do. You want to be the most shredded and strong that you can be, you're going to have to do some things. You can't eat certain things. You have to spend a lot of time doing this one thing. You have to cancel plans maybe because you need to work out. For any ideal goal, there's an ideal path, but the ideal path always involves sacrifice. If this is not a sacrifice you're willing to make, that you want to make, it won't happen. You won't stick to it. And so what do I mean by arrogance? What do I mean by condescending? I think most of us think that we can take an ideal path. And that's extremely arrogant in my opinion. To think that you can go in an ideal path and become what you want to become without making the sacrifices that someone else needs to make, without making the sacrifices that everybody needs to make, that's very condescending. That's very, I'm above this. I'm gonna make it work. Do you get what I mean? On the other hand, it's extremely humble to go and say, I'll do 70% of the work. I'm not willing to make this my profession. I'm not willing to do what the most serious people in the field, in the business, in the hobby, right? I'm not willing to do what these guys are willing to do. So I'll accept that my result is not gonna be like theirs. You can't expect 100% result without wanting to put 100% of the work in. And it's okay to expect a 70% result by putting 70% of the work in. That's completely fine. How I exercise is exactly this. Now in the workout, I have two examples. First of all, grip started to slip. And so I moved to a two-handed kind of version of the exercise. It's easier. It's not exactly what's on plan. But fuck that, I did it. Otherwise, I would start getting frustrated and maybe the kettlebell would actually slip and something bad would happen. I would have fear, and so I wouldn't be able to manifest as much power. I changed my behavior and I removed some of the 100%, so I stick to it. Afterwards, I did 8 repetitions and I stopped there. I didn't do the 10. Why? I could do the 10, could do 100%, but what would happen if I would stop at 8 today? Would I not progress? I'm humble enough to stop midway and know that I'm still making progress, that I'm still going towards the goal I set for myself. But it's because the goal that I set for myself is not getting to 100%, is not being the strongest man around, is not being the biggest and leanest and meanest guy around. It's being consistent with the things I want to do. And during that process, what happens is this: you start trusting the process itself. Suddenly, when you do 80%, you want to show up again, you want to come again. If being at 100% is involving sacrifices, and you're making sacrifices you don't want to make, you're not going to be coming back, right? If you tried the one diet, and then the other diet, and then the third diet, and none of them worked, you don't want to be experimenting with diets whatsoever. Not now, not in 10 years, not in 20 years. You're going to die munching anything you want, right? Same with the workouts, working out. Most people have a pretty bad relationship with fitness. They work out once, they work out twice, they work out 50 times, and every time it's suffering. It's, you need to suffer today to make it work. You come to exercising. Who likes exercising? Well, I do, and many people I know like exercising. Why? Because I developed it slowly. I went through different phases and different patterns and I have a video about it if you want to watch it. But I was okay with less than 100% for most of the time. And so I was okay with less than 100% of the effort and the suffering. I was okay with keeping it at a manageable level. And with time it progressed. With time I became more curious and more fascinated and more involved in this field, up until the point where right now I work every single day. Even today, Saturday, I'm at home resting. And yeah, it became a part of me. And that works with everything. You don't feel like you're organized enough, but you're not willing to make up your bed. You might think, what can making up my bed do to clear my brain a little bit, or make me more organized at work, or make me more in charge of my schedule or my behavior in a different kind of area? Well, be humble. It's a step in the right direction, and things work that way. It works that way. If you change a behavior here, something will change up here. When you make up your bed, it's that much easier to also make up your table and organize your closet and start, things start to grow. Be humble enough to do the minimum that you don't have to sacrifice for. You have to be humble enough to do the minimum that's okay, that's still enjoyable, that's a little bit difficult and pushes you a little bit outside of your comfort zone, but it's still fine. Still makes you think tomorrow, yeah, that's fine, I can do that again. Instead of cleaning your whole room, keeping everything organized and thinking, man, I have to do this again tomorrow? God, that's heavy. We don't want that. We don't want that, because then you never stick to it. You're doing 100% because you want 100% of a goal, and ironically, you get to a 0% of a goal, right? Be humble enough, stick to 70%, 80%, 90% at max if if you're on it, right? Listen to yourself, but do something less than 100 and be willing to get less than 100% of a result, but a constant one, which keeps growing. The 90, 80%, it keeps growing. You know, my 70% work today, exercising, is going to be different in a year. But I'll only get to this year if I stick to it today. You see what I mean? You're using the tool that's going to be 100% for someone else before you become that someone else. But that's a process. That's something you grow into. And so you have to be humble enough to grow into that. Man, I get so passionate about these things. I can blabber for ages. Man, I have to carry all of this crap home now, and I'm exhausted, so I'll rest here for a little while and then come back. But tell me if this connects to anything for you. Tell me if you agree or disagree. This is a little bit controversial. A lot of people around me still, you know, other trainers in my gym almost get pissed at me when I tell people to do less. When I tell people to chill a little bit and don't push themselves to the limits. You know, they have an hour and a half of a workout. That's fine, do half an hour today. Other trainers get pissed at me because, you know, it goes against what we're being taught right now. If you see a trainer online, it's kind of this guy chasing someone into a McDonald's, yelling at them, "What the fuck are you doing here? Go back to the gym, work out. Harder, heavier." That's not me, I go the opposite. Lighter, chiller, calmer. I want people to stick to it. I don't want, you know, quick, fast results. And I believe that's the way. You know, I didn't develop all of my habits out of nowhere. I don't feel like I have a lot of motivation or willpower. The opposite, you know, contrary. I can't do things I dislike. If I don't like my job for more than a week, I quit. I can't stick to it. If I don't like a project I'm doing, I never finish things. I don't go to university. I never make commitments. It's tough, right? I can't stick to things just to stick to them. What I can do is do 70, 80% and grow into loving a certain thing. And so I stick to it. I do this, and I've been doing it for ages, and I work out constantly. I have my morning routine. I wake up at 4:30 every morning. I read about 2 hours a day. I eat exactly 3 ingredients. I'm carnivore and I only eat, you know, animal products, and that's it. I make my bed every morning. I don't do any of these things and more out of I'm gonna push myself, even though I don't want to. I'll stick to it. I genuinely want to do every single one of those things, but it's because I grew it. Every one of them I nurtured, and I grew slowly by doing a 70%, by allowing myself to do half of a workout, by allowing myself to eat the occasional random something else, by developing a reading habit I'm obsessed about and that I want to wake up earlier for, so I actually have the time for. It all is connected with me listening to this. Don't push yourself to the limit. Don't sacrifice things you don't want to sacrifice because it doesn't stick. And trusting that with time, with this process, things will grow into the things I wanted them to be all along. So tell me if you agree or disagree. Tell me if you think I'm lazy. Tell me if you think this makes no sense. And if it helps anyhow, tell me that too. Yeah? Wait. Thanks for stopping by.